Hey guys, welcome to Dog Forge. My name's Paul and this is our Tasha's Cauldron of Everything series. Do you want more D&D content and more Tashas? Then hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Every subscriber helps to build and support our channel and we are extremely grateful for each and every one of you. Now this is the part of the intro where I normally make some kind of joke or reference relevant to the subject, but since I've neither seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or played Borderlands 3, I'm not going to try to. Instead, let's just take a look at the way of the Astral Self Monk, shall we? So, this monk is particularly interesting, and I think that the power and utility of this monk is more softly spoken than other subclasses. So the general gist of this monk is that your ki manifests itself in some kind of astral or spiritual form, and when you enter combat you expend some of your ki points to manifest that form to fight with you. So first of all we have, a bit of fluff, and then one of these little description boxes saying that, you can make it look like however you want. So a lanky human might have an astral self large and strong like a minotaur, or an orc monk who is presumably large and strong according to this, can manifest gossamer arms and a delicate visage as it represents the gentle beauty of the orc soul. So it doesn't have to look like you, it doesn't have to be the same race as you, it doesn't have to be a race at all. You could summon an astral self that looks like an imposing statue, perhaps something that was at the monastery where you trained. So you can get really creative and customize the appearance of your ability however you like. One kind of example of this, I think, that I've actually seen, might be the old guy from Hunter x Hunter whose name I am completely blanking on. When he summons his larger Buddha, that could be one of the things that your astral self can represent. But enough of that, getting into it. So here we can see an interpretation of what the astral self can look like in terms of the astral arms. This is much more of a basic interpretation of this Dragonborn literally just getting a second set of his own arms. And this is going to be the first form we get. So the abilities this subclass gets is basically just building up your entire astral body piece by piece. So at 3rd level, when we get this subclass, we're going to start off with the arms. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 ki point to summon the arms of your astral self. When you do so, each creature of your choice that you can see within 10 feet must make a dex save or take force damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die. So, as you all know, if you have been interested in playing a monk before, martial arts die scale with you, so when you first get this ability, that's going to be 2 rolls of a d4. For 10 minutes, these spectral arms hover near your shoulders or surround your arms, your choice. You determine the arm's appearance and they vanish early if you are incapacitated or die. So you can think of this more like entering a fighting form, akin to rage or blade singing, although this doesn't really come with any additional restrictions. With these spectral arms present, you gain the following benefits. You can use your wisdom modifier instead of strength when you make strength checks and strength saving throws. One thing that you should be aware of for this is that you can actually make a wisdom focused monk that is actually using wisdom to grapple people. You can use the spectral arms to make unarmed strikes so that you can actually attack with them. And when you make unarmed strikes with the arms on your turn, the reach for it is 5 feet greater than normal. Now, that's pretty important wording, as this is not giving you a flat reach benefit. If that was the case, then it would affect how your attacks of opportunity worked. That is not the case, however. Now, an extended reach is actually pretty bad for attacks of opportunity because it gives the enemy a larger space around you that they can move within without actually provoking it. So by having the reach on your turn but not off of it, you actually get the best of both worlds in that you can strike from a distance and still get your normal attacks of opportunity to punish people running away. And then finally, when you make unarmed strikes with the arms, you can use your wisdom modifier instead of strength or dex for the attack and damage rolls. The damage type is force. So, just to kind of unpack all of that, this is basically a wisdom-centric monk. Now, dexterity is still going to be needed to some degree because your AC, your dex saves, your initiative, they are all going to rely on dexterity still. However, you can now flip the script on the typical thing and you can focus wisdom first and foremost, and then leave dex trailing a point or two behind. And that's really great because typically you end up with a monk where you have to normally buff dex first, leaving your wisdom slightly behind, but this monk, you get to go wisdom first, which is going to have some knock-on effects like higher perception and wisdom saves. But all importantly, it's also going to lead to a higher stunning strike DC. And this brings us first into our subtle benefits of the subclass. So, this subclass is not out and out doing more damage in its normal round to round maneuvers, so to speak, not fighting maneuvers, than any other subclass. The benefits are much more subtle. So since you get that extra 5 foot of reach, you can actually hit and run, since you're most likely not going to be in the reach of a lot of enemies. Now, if you were, say, a bugbear, then you might be able to eke that out to 10 foot reach instead of an additional 5. And this makes you, combined with your natural built-in monk speed, a fantastic skirmisher without needing to burn, in action economy or resources to disengage and get out of there. So that's one benefit already. I've already touched on as well that you can use wisdom to grapple, which is pretty fantastic. Another thing is that the damage type for this subclass is force. Force is the least resisted damage type in the entire game. It's one of the reasons that Magic Missile and Eldritch Blast are so great, and now you get it on a monk chassis, which means that your damage is going to be above all else reliable. Apart from a couple of instances in the monster manual, you're not really going to encounter an enemy and have to worry about resistance or immunity, which for sure cannot be said about other classes, especially monks, especially before they get their magical damage at 6th level. Your damage is magical, so to speak, right off the bat, and that's a great buff. Another thing to throw in here is that whilst you're primarily going to be focusing on the bullet points of the actual abilities you get, the fact that you do additional damage in an AoE when you first summon these arms is actually pretty significant as well. So you normally have to spend a bonus action attacking in order to make up your damage. But by giving you an AoE that equals twice your martial arts roll of force, it's compensating for that initial damage loss, and based on the type of encounter you're in, how many enemies are around you, you could potentially actually do more damage with that AoE in the first round than you would with your normal unarmed attacks. So there's a lot here already, and it's, like I said, you have to think a little bit more about this subclass, I think, to see all of the benefits. Now, as it is 10 minutes and only a single key point, you can also feasibly get more encounters out of this if you're in a dungeon diving scenario. And since it's so cheap, it's not really going to impact your normal use of Stunning Strike and Flurry of Blows. So far, so good, really happy. Now next up is basically the face. So at 6th level we get Visage of the Astral Self. So this is basically going to be whatever your face looks like, or your soul. So you can summon the Visage of your Astral Self as a bonus action, or part of the bonus action that you use to summon your arms. Even if you summon your arms at the same time, it still costs a key point to get the face. The Visage lasts for 10 minutes, and it vanishes early if you're incapacitated or die. So it's 1 point on its own, or if you want the arms and the Visage, that's going to be 2 points. The Spectral Visage covers your face like a helmet or a mask, and you determine its appearance. And whilst the Visage is present, you gain the following benefits. Now this is less of a combat ability in my estimation, it's more utility out of combat unless you're in some niche. So Astral Site, this is just Devil Sight. 120 feet of being able to see in darkness, both magical and non-magical. And it specifies normally, so it's not dark vision, you're not going to hit the penalties for being in darkness. This is one thing that, between this and the Warlock Light feat where you can grab an invocation, Tasha's is really making it a lot easier for parties as a whole to leverage the darkness tactic in combat. Whether or not that's a good thing, that's really up for you and your DM to decide, but that is increasingly becoming a more viable tactic, especially since, the blind finding style is also a thing now. So, next up we get Wisdom of the Spirit. You have advantage on Wisdom, Insight, and Charisma Intimidation checks. So this is one of the main reasons why I think this is primarily an out-of-combat ability. And it's nice to see a monk get a little bit more of that, especially since this is something that helps in social interactions. And finally, Word of the Spirit. This is like a mashup of a couple different things. It's kind of like the Message Cantrip, and it's kind of like one effective thaumaturgy. So when you speak, you can direct your words to a creature of your choice that you can see within 60 feet, making it so that only the creature can hear you. Now this is not two-way, the creature cannot secretly reply to you. Alternatively, you can amplify your voice so that all creatures within 600 feet can hear you, because hey, the guy with giant statue arms is scary and everyone should know it. Moving on to 11, and we're getting more of ourselves, so now we have the body as well as the visage and the arms. So now this, unlike the visage where you could summon it independently, getting the body is contingent on you getting both the arms and the visage summoned at the same time. However, getting the body does not require any additional action, and it does not require any additional key expenditure. So when you summon both of those things, and that costs you 2 key points, you get the body for free. So whilst the body is present, it connects your arms and your visage together like an overlaid body or suit of armour. And whilst it's there, you gain the following benefits. Deflect Energy. When you take acid, cold, fire, force, lightning or thunder damage, they like giving me lists because they like to hear me get out of breath. You can use your reaction to deflect it. When you do so, the damage you take is reduced by d10 plus your wisdom modifier minimum of 1. And Empowered Arms. Once on each of your turns when you hit a target with your Astral Arms, you can deal extra damage equal to your martial arts die. So Deflect Energy is just a more versatile elemental style version of Deflect Arrows, and Empowered Arms is just a bit of a general damage bump. Empowered Arms is more akin to something that we would see in something like a Ranger subclass. At this point, level 11, a D8? You can kind of consider it like the Hunter's ability. Overall, this is a nice general step up for going into tier 3, giving you a much more versatile defense and a general damage bump that a monk could really use at this level. Now, finally, we get the Awakened Astral Self. Your connection to your Astral Self is complete, allowing you to unleash its full potential. As a bonus action, you can spend 5 ki to summon the arms, visage and body of yourself and awaken it for 10 minutes. This awakening ends early if you are incapacitated or die. So this is a little different again. So you could summon the arms or the visage for 1 each, or 2 ki for both, and then you got the body for free. However, now you have a new option of just summoning all of it and empowering it further, which they call Awakening, for a total of 5 ki and your bonus action. And then it gives you some additional benefits. You gain +2 to your armor class, and when you use the extra attack feature to attack twice, you can instead attack 3 times, as long as you're making all of those attacks with the arms. This is... I'm not gonna lie, it's a little underwhelming. So one thing that you have to keep in mind is that, all monks at high levels are going to get the ability to turn, they basically get a better version of Greater Invisibility. And that's something to bear in mind, because that is something that you can do with this. However, this is your capstone ability for the subclass. it's expensive. I mean, 5 key points is, it's not far off a third of your total key pool, and you still have to flurry, you still have to stun. So I don't feel for the level this comes in and the cost that it's evoking, it's really giving you quite enough. Now, I don't think it's far off. +2 to AC is nice, especially for the monk who has limited ways of buffing their AC. Getting an additional attack per turn, at this level it's going to be a D10 plus wisdom. It's not bad, especially since it's another opportunity to stun, but it's not a particularly substantial damage increase. If you've maxed your wisdom at this point, then you're looking at, on average, if you hit 10.5 damage. That's not a huge thing for, your ultimate form that you've had to sacrifice your martial arts attack for, or your opportunity to flurry. And I don't know, it's just a little underwhelming to me. Now, one thing that isn't particularly clear in the wording, in my opinion, but I believe the intent, is that you still get the bonus action AoE effect, because you are still summoning your arms as part of this, and the AoE effect is tied to the summoning of your arms. So that is something to bear in mind. You're still going to be doing 2d10 force damage in an AoE around you. So that does help a little bit, but I wish we would have seen a little bit more of a bump here. Maybe just a third bullet point that would have given us the option to spend a single key point to do another one of those mini smites, although from a design standpoint I can understand how that's kind of stepping on the Kensai's toes. But then, if we're going into that territory, giving the monk, well, the Astral Monk in this case, that ability period was stepping on the Kensai's toes, especially since they get it for free. So I'm not entirely sure what I would have liked to see here, period, but probably a touch more damage. This is a monk that is primarily, it's all over the place, but I think there's more features here that lend itself to damage, and I would have liked a little bit of a higher bump. Overall, I'm a fan of this monk. If I had to decide between this and the Mercy Monk, then the Mercy Monk is winning for me personally in what we're getting monk-wise out of Tasha's. But given the chance, I would probably play both. I would just choose the Astral Monk second. But hey, that's just what I think. What do you think about the Way of the Astral Self? Let us know in the comments down below. And hey, whilst you're down there, hit that like button if you like this video. If you want more Tasha's and 5e content, then hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And if you want your next fix straight away, then smash one of those weird little boxes that are popping up on screen right now. I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time at the Forge.